You were formed in sacred silence. Hands of heaven shaped your frame. Breathed alive.
Today, I want to speak directly to the souls who have whispered or cried out, God, please take this pain away, and yet found themselves waking up the next morning still hurting. We've been told prayer can move mountains, and it can. But what happens when the mountain doesn't move? When you've prayed with all your heart, with tears on your pillow, yet the depression stays, the loneliness lingers, the diagnosis doesn't change, or the betrayal still stings. Welcome to Dignity Talks. This video is the first in a 3-part series where we explore a deeply honest question. What do we do when prayer doesn't stop the pain? If you ever felt like your prayers hit silence, or you're still hurting after giving God everything you had, this series is for you. Together, we'll explore faith, emotional healing, and practical ways to reclaim your dignity, one step at a time. I'm Ritva Huusko, a psychotherapist from Finland, and I'm passionate about exploring healing and wholeness through both psychology and biblical wisdom. Here we talk about faith, emotional growth, and the dignity of being human. And if you're seeking insight, hope, or just a quiet space for your soul, you're in the right place. Subscribe and join us on this meaningful journey, and it doesn't cost you anything. When you subscribe, you get the notifications only when new videos come. But let's begin. At first, your pain does not mean that your faith has failed. And let me say this very clearly. Pain that doesn't go away does not mean you've done something wrong. It doesn't mean your faith is broken or God is silent because he doesn't care. Because the pain is not punishment. In psychology, we learn that enduring pain is part of the human condition. Even Jesus, who lived without sin, knew the agony of unanswered cries in Gethsemane. There is dignity in your struggle, and God honors even your groans that words cannot express. And then secondly, prayer is not always about escape. Sometimes it's about endurance. Often we pray as a way to escape that we are feeling. But prayer is also where we gain strength to endure. The Apostle Paul talked about a thorn in the flesh that he begged God to remove. But God said, "My grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness." It still doesn't mean you have to suffer all your life. Maybe there is something very deep in you which also can cause pain. And when the pain doesn't go away, prayer becomes the place where you learn to breathe again, where you are held, where you gather the strength not just to survive, but to keep showing up to life with dignity. And third, healing may look different than you hoped. Because sometimes the healing God gives doesn't happen the way we expect. And it's many times like that. Because he may not take away the storm, but he teaches us to walk on the water. He may not remove the loneliness, but he sends someone who truly sees us. He may not erase the pain, but he grows something sacred within it. Compassion, wisdom, strength and grace that helps others one day. And that is my path. God didn't take my pain away in a second, but I grew to learn a lot through it. From psychological perspective then, pain can become the raw material of transformation. Therapy teaches us that we don't always need the pain to end. We need to give it meaning, to reclaim our power and find ourselves within it. That too is an answer to prayer. So what then? What do we do when prayer doesn't stop the pain? We keep praying, not always for rescue, but for resilience. And we reach out, not because we are weak, but because we were never meant to do this alone. We sit with our pain and ask, what is this teaching me about myself, my boundaries, and my worth? And we return again and again to the truth that our dignity was never taken by our suffering. In fact, sometimes it's suffering that awakens us to just how precious, strong, and worthy we truly are. But what you can do to get free from pain? At first, acknowledge it without shame. Because freedom begins with honesty. Pretending we're not in pain only deepens the wound. Because pain is not weakness, it's a signal. Like physical pain tells us something's wrong, so emotional pain often points that to unmet needs, buried memories, or unhealthy patterns. So say it loud, write down, or cry it out. This is where healing begins. When you recognize, when you name the pain. And then you can learn what are the roots of the pain also. The wound is the place where the light enters you. Rumi, write this. Second, name the source. Ask yourself, where is this pain coming from? Is it rooted in rejection, abandonment, guilt, grief, or is it fear? Understanding the source gives you clarity. And with clarity comes power. This is something both therapists and faith-based counselors emphasize. Naming the pain reduces its control over you. You deserve to know your own story, not just survive it. You deserve you name your story, you give it words. And then third, stop carrying what's not yours. Because many of us carry the burden of others' actions. Parents who didn't love well, relationships that broke us, and systems that made us feel small or broke us. You are not responsible for what was done to you, but you are responsible for that, for what you do with it now, from now on. So letting go of blame doesn't mean forgetting or excusing, but it means choosing not to let the past define your worth anymore. And fourth, let others in pain grow. Pain grows in isolation, but begins to dissolve in connection. Talking to someone safe, whether a therapist, a friend, or a faith leader, can shift the weight. You don't have to explain it perfectly. Just start where you are, saying, I need help. It's not giving up. It's claiming your right to heal. Because you were never meant to carry it alone. Not from God's side. And remember, be gentle with yourself. Self-compassion is essential. Many of us punish ourselves mentally, believe we deserve the pain. But Christ didn't teach that. And psychology doesn't support it. And your dignity rejects it. So speak to yourself the way you would to a beloved child or friend. That inner kindness rewires a brain and rebuilds your self-worth. And then make space for your spirit. Even if prayer hasn't removed the pain, it can still ground and strengthen you. Use it as a moment to be with God, not just to ask for escape, but to receive comfort, understanding and clarity. And that is also what happens in therapy. In Christian faith is taught that God walks with us through the valley, not just outside of it. And then engage your body. Pain isn't only in the mind. It lives in the body too. And then movement, breath work, nature walks, rest, or even gentle touch can help release trauma stored physically. But be gentle. Trauma research shows that body-based healing is often just as essential as mental reflection. And then find meaning in the struggle. This doesn't mean you had to suffer, but if you are already here suffering, hurt and searching, you can choose to let the pain become part of your wisdom. What has it taught you about what really matters? About who you never want to become? About the kind of love the world desperately needs? Viktor Frankl, a psychiatrist and Holocaust survivor, said, "When we can no longer change a situation, we are challenged to change ourselves." And that's where the true freedom lies. You were never meant to stay stuck in pain. You were meant to peace, purpose, and a life that reflects your inherent dignity, which you got from at very first beginning of your life. And even if healing takes time, remember, every breath you take with intention, every step you choose toward your self-worth, and every time you speak your truth gently, this is you getting free from pain. Thank you for being part of this journey today. If this message spoke to you, if you found hope or healing in it, please subscribe and share this video with someone who needs this kind of encouragement. It's a simple way to support this channel, and it helps me continue creating content that brings faith, psychology, and dignity together. God bless you.